a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests, and we will be having a very interesting discussion this evening, here anyway, and with a very interesting guest. Let me bring Mitchell Gaither on. Let me bring you on. There we go. Welcome. Doing great. How are you?
All right. Things are a lot better since we last talked. It's been delayed a little bit, but there ain't no delaying it now.
All right. Yeah. I know a few things that are rather critical certainly have come to light, and that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's everybody's asking me how I feel. Well, for one thing, we got so much to go over, and I do ramble on. But hey, if y'all been hit in the head so many times and been where I went through, you know what it's like. It's amazing. My doctors and everybody that worked on me, it's amazing. I'm living a normal life and able to talk. Here a few years ago, I'd been stuttering so much and probably couldn't remember your name 5 minutes after I talked to you. But I've come a long ways. I'll get right to. Well, first of all, if y'all hadn't seen me, I'm from Quitman, Arkansas. Wonderful town. Cleveland County, Arkansas is going to make. It was the last place that JFK had publicly appeared, October 3rd, 1963, before his, let's quote, assassination, before his clone was assassinated, for sure, not conspiracy, on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas. I know Junior is still alive, and I would bet a lot of money that JFK is and doing well through med beds. But Cleveland County is very special. And let me quickly shout out to all my friends in Quitman and all my family and everything. And if y'all guys are in the Cleveland County, Arkansas, Greers Ferret Lake area, give Bentley's a try if you want a place to eat, or Fawn and Jeff's at Quitman, or the new one, Sawmill Cafe on the straight stretch between Heber Springs and Quitman, and the smokehouse at Heber Springs. But I had to plug them because they've been so good to me. But yeah, it's very important. But everybody said, well, how are you feeling? Well, I've been through a lot like everybody else, but I've had ringing in my ears, my blurred vision, a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it changed and everything. And I went through a living hell since I lost my dog sick and everything else. I've lost 2 men. I'm going to say 4, because our neighbor's dog, she was precious. She died, and they was all young dogs. And anybody that's followed me, I've been real negative. And I promise you, if I hadn't lost those dogs, especially Molly, and Molly's still alive out there somewhere. Somebody stole her, but that's a long story. I would have been 80% better, but I've been feeling better about that. But when Trump, if y'all followed this, I'm amazed that people went to sleep that followed it twice as long as me. We've got to expose Israel. They are 90%. And I know anybody that's new to this that think they're God's people, we're all God's people. They are 90%. They're Khazarian mafia. They are the head of all human trafficking, all drugs, all pornography. They are as evil as they come. They are not true Jews. They are not. If you go by the Bible, the ancient Bibles, they ain't even such word as Jews. The Hebrews are the true people, Palestinians and North Africans. And we're going to find out the reason Trump called us the elites, because we are the real Israel. We'll get into that. But Netanyahu had to be exposed. Now, the real ones done took a one-way trip to the YMCA. That's good. All the white people know that's Gitmo. But the Israel, when he stated, when he turned away from Israel, turned his back on Netanyahu, and when he made Palestine a state, recognized it, I knew we're at the beginning of the end. And that's it. I can explain more in the numerology, and we will get into who I really am. And I've kind of knew things were really off since I was a kid, but I'm adopted, and I'm part of the Illuminati bloodline family. And yeah, I made it all the way down here to Quitman, Arkansas. But a lot of it comes with just the feeling and instincts. And like you, probably, and a lot of the white people were marked through the way our eyes look. And everybody teased me about having a big forehead. Well, a lot of people who are blessed and who are watchers, and part of the 144,000 have a big forehead. But I've got a double M on both hands. And the white people are familiar with that.
I got that M thing too.
Yeah, I've got a double M, so it's just instincts. But I want everybody out there to know that first of all, do your own research, just like a lot of the good podcasters. Let me tell you, if you go on what I say or anyone else, you got to look at everybody and you got to follow your own heart. You look at me right now and say, that guy's full of shit. You look at President Trump, say he's full of shit, and everybody outside yourself. God made you a powerful being. Get off your ass, do your own research, use the instincts that he gave you. And what I try to teach people, I've always been able to see beyond what my eyes can see and hear beyond what my ears can hear. And if you just take what I say right now at face value, or anybody else, don't do your own research and follow somebody else, and you go off a cliff, go down the wrong path, you only have yourself to blame. I'm being as honest with you as I can. Am I perfect? No. Is everything I tell you hit the nail on the head accurate? Absolutely not. I'm just trying to help people. Do your own research, follow your own heart. And that's what, before we get into this, you need to know that. But Israel is they're the Khazars. 92% of Israel are Khazar warriors. The other 8% are from the bloodline of Judas. And everybody knows why is so much fighting over the Ukraine. That's where the true Nazis come from. That's where if you want to call it sin, and if you are a Christian or a real religious person, that's where all the sin come from. The bloodline of Cain, the fallen angels. That's why there's so much there in the area of Georgia and Ukraine. And guys, Russia's more, if you want to call it, I'm not religious, but if you want to call godly a Christian nation, they are far more of a Christian nation than we are, Russians, because they use the Communist Manifesto. Yes, the Russian people. And by the way, that's the good Putin. The real Putin. Yeah, the real Putin was on 2011. Just look at him. He was Kazan. They've took care of him a long time ago. But Russia is already showing the real Christ, the real teachings of Christ, that he's black, that he was a Kanaliga yoga master. He was a very spiritual being. He was teaching us to see out of the third eye. But Russia, Communist manifestos tell a lie long enough, people believe it and accuse others of what you're doing. And that's what Israel's doing. You've just got to do your own research about what the Germans done. And actually, I know this is going to be sore, but Hitler was a nut job, no doubt. But he's not going to end up being as bad as people thought, just like Gaddafi and Hussein and all them others, the guy over in Syria. Heck, the guy over in Syria was a pediatrician. Why would he be unaliving all those kids? You're going to find out these are evil, evil people. And just like Putin said, 90% of all world problems are CIA black ops. And Israel, actually ISIS stands for Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. It all goes back to them. McCain was the head of ISIS. And you're going to have to learn. Basically, guys, if you can sit down and you need to get in a quiet place and ask the Creator like I did. I don't want the constant reassurance of truth. God bless y'all that y'all go to on Sunday, because you hear from another man outside yourself or woman that don't know no more about Creator's universe than you do. Tell him, I did this a few years ago, and I always was born with one leg out of the matrix. But I said, I want to know the truth, not what I think's the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. But watch what you ask for, you might get it. And that's when I started truly awakening, come to where I am now. And a lot of other things started moving to finish out who I am, what bloodline I come from. I kind of got off subject, and I do that because I promise you, I wouldn't even be on here or doing videos if I hadn't had the head injury. I was a pretty quiet person, and that changed everything. I have no filter, but everybody's wanting to date. So everybody get mad at me, and I don't care if I'm wrong. May 29th this year. Listen to me. Why? Because Kay's birthday, he goes from 107 to 108. You add that single digit, that's 17. That was one of the dates of the largest stock market, the day before stock market crashes, and also the date of one of the biggest rises of the stock market crash. And I look at that, and I'm connected. I'll tell you later on, but that man saved my life, or I know his family did, along with Senator J. William Fulbright, and we'll get into that in my adoption. And I have, let's put it this way, every video for a while that I come out, I got channels banned over this, is as I said, JFK is Trump and JFK Jr. is alive. And I said he was in Heber Springs, Arkansas, because there's a lot of ancient secrets, military secrets here that blow people's mind. And it's Heber Springs, Arkansas. And those videos didn't get 10 views. I got some channels banned on that. And by the way, I've had 2 or 3 bans since I talked to you. I think, no, 6. And I'm up to 32 channels banned. And now my new channel's on TikTok.
What are you putting on there that's banning that they get all bent out of shape about? It must be some kind of truth.
I told him JFK Sr.'s alive, probably younger than us, in med bed. He is Q, and he's the Christ bloodline of Calhoun. JFK Jr. is Q plus. And I told him I wasn't sure if the real Trump died in the '89 crash, but it's not him running this. And then I said that the reason he was in Heber Springs, Arkansas, is because it's Hebrew Springs. We're the real Israel, Egypt, and Heber Springs, Arkansas. And Arkansas was very important. Ark wasn't. I don't believe in Noah's Ark because geometrically it don't fit the bill. I don't want to get into that on this show, but if it is, now I'm hearing that Petit Jean Mountain, which is a big mountain down here, Noah's Ark's under it. But I said that, and it got 10 views, and I got a couple channels banned after that, and I got some taken down. But I'm still on Mitchell Gaither YouTube. You can find most of my videos. I've made about 2,000 there. I'm on X and Rumble, but never done that much on that. And on TikTok now, and you're gonna laugh at this, but I've got a new channel called Wake the Fuck Up America 117, and it went from 20 followers 3 weeks ago to almost 6,000.
Wow.
And I've also got another one. Yeah, I've got another one, WTF Up Arkansas. And that's the 2 channels I have now, and my Mitchell Gaither YouTube. And I don't know why the new channel has not had videos taken down, because I've got about 20 on it that would have been taken down immediately. So maybe the white hats are letting me get the word out because they know I'm telling the truth, and it's getting closer to the end.
It sure is.
But JFK, yeah. But if you put all that together, and I do have a wonderful source, and that's he only missed twice in 5 years, and told me some stuff a year ahead. He said he's not at the top. He just damn good. That's all I can say. He or she, it might be a she. I might be just telling you that. All I can say is, through plausible deniability, that's how I read them. Now, all my sources, I've got good sources. And when they shut up during mid-conversation, that pretty much means I'm close. And we was talking, and he's told me, don't listen to most of these P-Brain podcasters. They're either like out for your money, or they're good-hearted people that's doing good but very misled. And I was saying that he said for a long time, he said, anybody gives you any date without you even asking me, it's 100% wrong. And I was going on. I said, well, where are Trump 2050 now? I said, we're getting tired. He said, look, man, we'll be old men and walkers there. Just live your life. And I said, yeah. I said, there's one date nobody's give out, May 29th of this month. I said it the other day. And I said, that's when JFK goes from 107 to 108, and that's 17. I give it some more, and conversation over with. And I said, Then I said the other day, and he said, he kept, every time something's supposed to happen, he would say, Mitch, get you a big bag of beans. And then him and all my other sources say, like, well, some just say flat out, Americans especially, we underestimate how brainwashed they are. Now, I say they've got their head up so far up their ass, a bulldozer can't pull it out, but they can't say it that way. But I said, what happened? He's like, Americans are lazy and crazy. And every time something happened, something was supposed to happen in March. I know it because every feed I was getting was fine. And then I told everybody, Trump ain't going to do nothing March 3rd. Why? I said, I got a message. Sorry, Mitch. Too many people still with the rose-colored glasses on and head in the sand. John Connolly, these rose-colored glasses I'm looking through show only the beauty but hide all the truth. And that's the message he gave me. So from everything about that, and I told him the other day, I said, it's not just me. Everybody's feeling better. I feel like I've regressed 10 years the last week. I was out the other day. I used to log and work 12 hours a day, and I was a monster with a saw. When I got done clearing in one day, you'd think a bulldozer went through there, and I got to where I can't even run a saw. And the other day I was out in my yard. I had felt no pain. All my pain went away, and the only thing that's been happening is blurred vision and ears ringing. And I said, and he said something about he had dreams where the aliens come and healed us. That's med beds, and that's the Palladians. No kidding. I know some of my friends listen. Oh, you're crazy. You're going to find out what I'm telling you is the truth. And the other day I said, maybe the aliens are here. Heal me. And he said, maybe, LOL. That's a yes. It's getting close. And I just go by the connections I have. And over at Moulton, any of y'all over at Moulton know where Ed Gordon Point Removed Refuge is, East Point Removed Creek. I went over there and I just go over things in my mind. It's like these things just showed up and not knew it. And I've hunted over there many, many years. And here about 6 months ago, I will leave no matter what kind of hunting, fishing I'm doing at night or the daytime, and I will leave and I will hit I-40 at exit 107. I will get off at 108 and go eat at the Waffle House. What is that? JFK is going from 107 to 108. That's 17. But Gail, how many years have I hunted that place? 35 years. Who's 35th president? JFK. And then I started saying that. And I said,
connections.
Yeah, I said, you know, my friend is the one that finally put everything together. The only thing that's the final piece of the puzzle, and we'll get into my adoption, is I don't know which high-ranking Illuminati family is my father. I know everything else. And but I'd say with all these 17s and everything, I got to be connected to somebody high. And then the other day I said, yeah, when I was going along with him on that May 29th deadline, I said, you know, I go from exit 107 to 108. And I said, JFK's 35. And like I said, he didn't even text message me back. Everything done like it never did happen. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But wouldn't it be great if I'm right?
Yeah.
Well, have you got any questions from your viewers yet?
I know, but I have an interesting comment from White Fox, also known as Budweiser. This guy says you have an interesting vibe and fascinating, and he sees energy.
Yeah. Well, let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and get to this. I am the biological grandson of Senator J. William Fulbright, friend of JFK, who was helping him try to stop the Vietnam War, expose that. And I know behind the scenes and my instincts, he helped him with Q. I've heard both sides that they wasn't great friends, whatever. I was trying to. The main thing about this is stop the adrenochrome thing. These reptilians are real, but I am the biological grandson of him, and that's my connection. Maybe not bloodline to JFK, but JFK is a Calhouni, and it's the bloodline of Christ. So we are all people are gifted. I'm not above anybody. Save my life. I was hit out in a small town equipment to save my life, but I am not a special example of anything. People are going to be surprised how this wouldn't have worked. This has been planned for thousands of years. But you could not have put all the people like Trump, JFK, and everything else at top for this to work. You got to have your foot soldiers. You got to have your in between. You're going to be surprised at the people of all walks of life, a normal guy like me, on in between and on up at high, who were actually from the bloodlines of the Illuminati. Those people got around and they have been placed all over the world, but the Creator used them and for this war, because we've got to have a lot of us like me on the ground get to the regular people. But what happened was, it goes back. I can give y'all detail. If you will Google, if you can think this, if you will Google Quitman, Arkansas, it goes back to Pryor Mountain. If you will, I've only found it one time, but somewhere between Little Rock and there's a there's a satanic pentagram of blood that goes across the United States, and one of the ley lines is, I think, pretty close to Pryor Mountain. But on the Cleveland County, Van Buren County line, we had a deer camp for many years. I've still got some land up there, and that's where I found out I was adopted. I always knew I looked different than the Gaithers, and finally, my dad, lovely man, he was a good alcoholic. He never abused me or anything, but he had a problem with Seagram 7. If it hadn't been for Seagram 7, he would still be living. I mean, he died of alcoholism, but he didn't hardly drink anything else. But the man had a lot on his mind, and he always wanted to tell me. And we was sitting, now this where it gets wild, and you've got to follow along with me. I was sitting on a made bed at what we call the old rice place, our camp. He said, "Son, I want to set you down."
You're breaking up for some reason.
"You're adopted."
You're breaking up a little bit.
Hello?
Say it again. Yeah.
Okay. It happened at
your sound was getting funny.
I found out about my adoption at the old rice place on the Van Buren Cleveland County line on Pryor Mountain 52 years ago. It was 1972. I think it was, I know when we first started hunting, it was during November because it's first weekend of gun season. And we was the only ones up there, and he was drinking. He said, "Son, you're adopted." And he was a Mason, a low-level Mason. He wasn't a bad Mason or anything else. He really wasn't all that into it. I think he joined just to be part of the club, but he always had this Masonic ring. And he said, "I got to tell you something." And he would show me his Masonic ring. He said, "Senator J. William Fulbright." Well, I didn't know what he was talking about at the time. Well, every time he'd get drunk from then on out, he would talk about that. And "I love you so much." And it's like he wanted to tell me everything, but he didn't. And by the way, guys, he's one of the pioneers. I'm very proud of that man. He's one of the pioneers of what's Windstream Verizon now. Windstream and Verizon started out 8 miles from where I found out my adoption on, if you will look at Diamond Bluff Road off of 16 and go about a mile and look to the north, you will see a little road called Wilborn Road with a O, Born. That is the original owner of Windstream Verizon. Him and his son Randy loved Daddy. My parents couldn't have kids. My mom had 2 miscarriages, and the other one was born dead. I knew that Wilburn helped with my adoption. Well, when I got older and seen that Senator J. William Fulbright was a senator of Arkansas, I said, "Oh, I know how it works." How evil that was. Okay, a lot of Dad needed a baby, and Dad was first employees ever at Windstream Verizon.
It starts to distort when you say certain things. It's probably relevant. So
yeah, they're probably doing
it. When you start to say something, keep going. Try it again. Say the same thing again, though.
My dad was, and it started on Pryor Mountain. If you will look at Wilburn Road, just off of Diamond Bluff Estates. And what's ironic is Diamond Bluff Estates right there was started by Kenneth and Gloria Copeland and Joseph Capps. We know what they're all about. There's a lot of evil. There's a lot of good in Greer's Ferry. They was supposedly from this is not me. The spiritual people calling me and the very high level military people have told me there was a satanic sacrifice on Miller's Point there before JFK got here. But anyway, Hugh Wilburn helped with that. So I thought, well, Fulbright help. Well, he ended up being my biological grandpa. So it was years. Dad would always tell me there was a real good college football player that played for the Hogs that played a year for the Steelers was my dad. That was a cover story. And a young girl from here was my mom. And they give me up. Well, they were real people, but it ended up just being a cover story. And my daughter, I really didn't think about it for years. I didn't do no blood test. I knew where the guy lived, but my daughter wanted to know one day. So I was going to approach him, and I didn't know how to do it. So we just kind of forgot about it. So anyway, I left it at that.
Breaking up again. Yeah.
Still, you'll try to read that?
It's distorted again for some reason. It starts getting distorted. Yeah.
You want to try to reset it?
Yeah. Okay. Try saying it again.
Are you
Yes.
there?
Yeah.
All right, let's try to say it in a different way. Or I lost, connection. Well, no, wait a minute. There was only two guys still alive that knew that my adoption was sealed with a Masonic handshake, and everything that went on. Guys, you can't make it up. One of them, son, is my friend I've known for 30 years and my top military source. They are straight up. They had all the DNA at the hospital where I was born in D.C., but he is one of the leading. His group can find people all over the world. I'll just put it that way. They're top. I trust the guy with my life. Neither one of these good men, good Christian men, would ever lie to me, and they wouldn't come to me if it wasn't straight up. I was working with him 3 years ago, and he just dropped everything. And he said, Mitchell, there's two old men that really need to tell you something. I said, man, I know I'm adopted. He said, they work with your dad. He said, oh. So that's where it began. And all of a sudden, these guys showed up in my life. One from all of them with the highest military clearance in the world. One of them spent 2 years working with me. And he would tell me how I would add numbers. He said, you can see red in certain shapes. He knew my favorite cartoon was Johnny Quest in the 60s. He called me Speed Racer. Well, I'll fast forward. I found, even though I'm the only child here, I found out later on, I do have not my respect for him. That's a retired speed racer. I said, how do you know this was about you? Was in a meeting before I got here. I found out he was former CIA. He's a good guy. I still think a lot of him. I've lost contact with him, but and I'm like, wow. And he said, yeah. He said, you're not who you think you are, John Connor. I said, you mean the Terminator? I said, if I come back here to destroy who you think you are, and we're here to win. I said, Total Recall, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he said, yeah. And he worked on me. He tracked me everywhere. He, I don't want to make this so long and boring, but hey, they would be a Black Hawk over my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. And he had text messaged me. He said, we're watching you, man. He said, I've got you taken care of. And he would show up over at Heber just out of nowhere. Hi, Mitch, how you doing? It was like he's a ghost. And one night, I mean, I've got witnesses. I wish I knew them. We was at the smokehouse in Heber Spring, and a fully loaded Black Hawk, I mean, machine guns and everything, come over at 8 o'clock at night over us. And this woman walked out in the parking lot, and she was like, what? He said, oh, guys, we got it taken care of. And he pointed, and it went over Heber Mountain. A lot of crazy stuff. There was a 50-day drought. And I mow yards, guys, and I was out of work 50 days, and I was going for a job interview. He texted me. He said, man, I got you taken care of. He said, you hear that flying over the house? He said, they're seeding the lake. And he said, we're going to have rain for you over your yards in 7 to 10 days. I said, you're full of crap. I said, you're trying to drive me crazy. I said, there's no rain to forecast next 3 months. He just watched. 7 days later, it started raining for 2 months, and it rained on every one of my yards. And that stuff's real, guys. Well, anyway, it went on, and there's some more things that led to it. So I would tell my top contact, I says, this guy legit? And man, when I'm wrong, he'll say, you need to turn off that Q stuff. I mean, that TikTok stuff. You need to stop following that crap. But when I'm right, he either won't say anything, or he'll say interesting, or that's crazy. You know, it's a crazy world. I'm like, and he knew this guy, and I'm like, oh, wow. And then all of a sudden I'm delivering pizzas, and I delivered this woman. I ain't gonna say where they everything else. I delivered this pizza out, and he handed me. I handed him the pizza. Whoever who it was, I said, "Give me $11.85 tip." I said, "Okay." Didn't think nothing of it. I got a phone call on my home phone, which very few people call me anymore. And I heard, "Is this Mitchell Gaither?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I've been getting information. We want to talk through you and let you put out the truth and let you be the one to lead the people the truth." And I said, "How did you find my number?" She said, I've seen you on TikTok." And she said, "I need to talk to you, and I need to talk to you now." I said, "All right." She said, "Hey, did you deliver a pizza at this address last night? I'll be dang if it wasn't that woman that gave me the $11.85 tip." I said, "Okay." I said, "This is freaking nuts." So I went over there, and she was a handicapped woman. And her son was sitting there, and he said, "Sir," he said, my mom we'll make a believer out of you. And I said, okay. And she said, well, Mitchell, she said, can I call you Mitchell? I said, yeah. She said, let me get right to it. Does Senator J. William Fulbright sounded familiar? And I'm like, how the hell did you know that? I said, nobody knew. I said, I think my dad, the people, I know my grandparents didn't. I said, I don't think my mom did. I said, how do you know that? I said, that ain't a matter of record. And I said, my dad would always tell me it was black market, under the table. No lawyer in the world could ever open up my records. And she said, I'm seeing something. She said, she calls God Daddy. She said, Daddy's showing me something. I see a made bed. I see a made bed at the cabin in the woods. Do you have a cabin you used to go to? I see a made bed. That goes back to when he told me 50. How do these people do that stuff? That was back before cell phones, everything else. That raised, she said, you're not who you think you are. You're a powerful being. She said, you're a powerful being. We're trying to wake up and get all this other stuff.
You're breaking up again.
You're
breaking up again.
You know.
And that it's, Poker says that the same thing happens to him, and I can say, because when I have him on and he starts saying something they don't want out there, that's what happens. It starts getting distorted and so on. But we do have a question out there that for you, and he's wondering when Carl is wondering, will the ES be called soon this month? The EBS, I think.
I don't know. For sure, my sources have been, it's not going to be the EBS or EAS. I think there's a system called Mars, but it's not going to go down the way we think. The EBS was deep state. Nothing's going to be the way we think. So I can't guarantee you there's going to be 10 days of darkness, 3 days of darkness. That I don't know, but I do know there's going to be some big stuff coming down. And I do think that Netanyahu, I was saying my cousin, I'm giving away a little something. My cousin HRC was going to be the first arrest, but now I think it's going to be Netanyahu. Did you hear that, Gail?
Yeah. Netanyahu being the first arrest as a possibility.
But going back to what I said, she told me the largest portal of lost souls is under Greer's Ferry Lake. What else? And there's many reasons why Greer's, and she said that I was placed here. And you can go to my YouTube channel, Mitchell Gaither YouTube, my JFK connection, and it will explain everything about the 17s. But she said I was placed here. Now, guys, this is coming from people other than me. I ain't saying it. She said action and to guard the largest portal of lost souls in the world under Greer's Ferry Lake. And in my dreams or in the other life, souls. Now, from I knew about the deal made years ago. I said,
you're starting to break up again. Yeah.
I'm all right.
I don't know why.
All right. So, can you
I can hear you breaking up, but we got another question for you. All right.
Okay.
Mitchell, can you please tell us something will happen soon to pump us up, awakened, weary warriors, please?
I think when Trump, something's going to happen Monday. And when he leaves, you remember, if y'all watch this long enough, the capitulation tour where everybody capitulated to him in 2017, the Pope, Saudis, everything else. I think this is it's just going to be a rerun of that for the sleepers, the normies. I think it's going to lead. I ain't going to guarantee this, but I would think that King Charles and George Soros, something will happen with them very soon. I think once he leaves the country, that's going to open up the door for senior and junior to come back. I'm looking for remember, Trump said last year, Memorial Day 2025, and no one else wanted to hear that. We wanted to go with them. It's right here, guys. We'll be celebrating. Hold on to that thought, sir. Hold on to it. There's going to be a lot. In the next 2.5 weeks, there's going to be a lot happening. There's a lot of lower level arrests for trafficking everywhere. But yeah, hold on to that. So let me. I'm going to try to read.
massive energy hitting the earth. I wanted to mention that.
Yeah,
too.
that's why we're all feeling better. So everybody wanted to hear my story. Let me try to word it to where I can get through this and get through it quickly. So what happened was some black ops me after that, and one just at stuff, the reset. But then I was talking about a certain guy, Jailhouse Rock, that's still alive here in Arkansas. It's a smokehouse again, and I had a hand put on me, and he said, "Sir, I need to talk to you." And he looked up and he said, "Yes, I'm CIA. I'm Black Ops. This guy's true. This guy's still alive. He is Bob Joyce." But he said, "He is not liking what you are putting out, Mr. Gaither, and I need to talk to you. He's not ready." We go out. The guy speaks 12 different languages. People hear him, ancient Hebrew, everything else. He shows me patterns on weather, shows me where the mummies was discovered in the Grand Canyon, that we are the real Egypt, Israel, and everything else. And then during the conversation, this guy says, "You didn't find that deer your daughter hit last week down there," and pointed towards Greenbrier. I said, "Whoa, back up. That wasn't a police report. I went down there to just check, see if her car and make it home." I said, "How the hell did you know that?" He said, "Mitchell, you're John Connor." He said, "We're trying to wake you up, and you are one of the hard-headedest guys to wake up ever." He said, we watch your daughter more than and wife more than we do you." He said, "But you didn't find that deer." And I'm like, man, this guy's the real deal. And we went on. Then I had called my main source, and he said, "Boy, that weird." He said, "That guy works out of the same place I do." And then I realized they are working together to wake me up. But I did ask the guy, "Is this because I'm grandson of Senator J. William Fulbright, friend of JFK, helping him with Q?" And he said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Things are going to get really bad for you." And they did. A lot of things went downhill right after that. But he said, "By spring, it's going to get really good. You're going to find out who you really are." So finally, mid-January, I got a text from my main source. He said, "Mitchell, here it is." And he sent me multiple texts.
As soon as you start saying that,
Right.
as soon as you start saying that, Mitchell, it starts getting interference. It's
oh
yeah.
Wow.
It's like they don't want you talking.
They're not wanting to. They're not
Yeah,
wanting to tell me. But basically, my mother was. Let's try this. A psychic woman told me this too. Martha's rape was filmed blackmail scheme. What exactly? I don't know. If it was Fulbright, which would, I don't know, would have been my father or whatever, was in the Army and was going to expose the military for trafficking. And I think I'll just want to thank Senator Fulbright, the Kennedy family, because many things, Gail, I try not to tear up, could have happened to me. They could have aborted me. They could have trafficked me. Or heck, I could have been part of the inversion, the terrible stuff going on. I was able to come to one of the most wonderful places, because those men, my father, my parents, my grandparents, and when I say that, I mean my adoptive parents, and the guy who is my biological father is a Rockefeller. So I am of the 13 bloodline, reptilian on one side, but I'm connected to the Christ line on the other. They will not. Huh? Yeah, what a combo. I feel like that movie Underworld, where the vampires versus the werewolves, and there's this one guy turning the werewolf, but I think he had vampire NDA and they was fighting over him. And people think I'm making this up. You're insane, because nobody can make this up. And they decided, I don't know the details, why they decided me to kept this. I do.
Breaking up again.
Now, yeah, I was born to or I'm looking at one. I'm not finding it. It says,
Yeah, it's not coming in good again. I don't know if what's going on with your cat. Who is your service provider on your phone?
we did that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You were
Yeah.
breaking up the distorted sounds there for a while. I don't know why.
But Gail, do you notice every time provider, we did this last time, but anyway, I have connection to the 13 bloodline families, and I had a wonderful life. You know, that is the only those people did for me is the only way I could have had a normal life. In this last 10 years, since I had my head injuries, the cancer, and other problems, I lost my farm, I lost all my money. But it has been a wonderful life. I couldn't thank the people around Quitman enough, but I know that cut out a lot. But yes, I am one of them that was thought to be dead that's still alive, and only I'm not famous just yet. but that's where I get a lot of this stuff is just from instinct. And I am sorry that y'all are not getting all this story. The story is about all the story is on Mitchell Gaither YouTube. But
it's breaking up for you when you say that. It's breaking up. Unbelievable. If you send it to me later, I can put it in the description, maybe tomorrow. But there's also someone here that's saying JFK Senior and Junior would be one heck of a wake-up call for normies.
That's what everybody get. But let me see if I can get in real quick.
Wow.
I'm going to end up cousins to a guy that said, I did sexual relations with that woman because he's one of them too. And maybe maybe a guy that had a soccer ball with a face on it, a movie Castaway, lead singer for a vocal group, and everything else. I'm going to end up being cousins or maybe brothers to some famous people. But I am so glad the way things worked out for me. I don't have one bit of regret, good or bad. The only thing, well, that's not the truth. There's two things that I would like to take back in my life, and that's selling my farm. My mind wasn't right. It was a very special place to me. And losing my dog last year, Molly, man, that is just something that I cannot get over. But I think it was beyond that because, you know, spirits do volunteer to come here as animals. And I think on the other side, me and that dog was connected, maybe all my dogs. But that dog was, and y'all, if y'all hadn't heard my story, I lost her on Pryor Mountain, where all the satanic stuff happens, where not too far from where I found out by adoption. And I lost her, and I left her there thinking she'd be back in my truck because most hunting dogs are, and I never seen her again. But the bad thing about it is I carried shot collars to keep from running deer, and I just hit her one time to see where she was because I thought she was herd or running a deer, and she was in front of me, and for some reason she run away from me. I mean, I think she because I never seen the little again. Never found her. That breaks my heart. That I had him back in my arms like for 3 months after that. I was 17.
Yeah, you're breaking up again for some reason. I don't know why you would be breaking up over what happened to the dog, but that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hopefully I'll find her back. Do you have any more comments or anything?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Okay. Budwalker was saying when he was on, he was trying to explain how to use your energy, and the same thing that's happening to you happened to him. You know, it's like certain things they don't want out, they interfere.
Yeah, that's true, and I think there's still some bad little minions running out there and everything, but it's
the big guys are gone, don't you think? For the most part.
No, the big guys, yeah, they're every one of them. You know, the masks are falling off. Come on, you know, I mean, Chuck Schumer's mask was sitting right next to Zelensky during that Trump interview, and you remember, for one thing, what world leader have you ever seen wear a T-shirt, a little 12-year-old T-shirt? And if you'll do research and look, he don't even look like the real one. He's actually a porn star, and he said that one guy, that one actor standing next to Trump, said, "Why don't you wear a suit?" And he said, I'm going to wear a suit like you, a costume when this is over, not a suit, a costume. They was telling everybody it was a costume. And then you had Chuck Schumer's mask right here. And that don't even look like, I mean, HRC, you know, it's Teresa Barnwell. Teresa Barnwell's 5'1", HRC is 5'6". They're all, how they're doing it, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually.
I'm a group to Washington, D.C. during Congress, and it was a ghost. And they still left there thinking Biden was president around.
Let's see. Somebody mentioned, and it's way behind here a little bit, about, oh, here we go. I guess it was a comment to another person here about how they can, there was another comment that said there's a lot of people that are hurting financially and really need help. And they keep dragging their feet about doing that, because how can people who are billionaires even relate to the average American?
You can't.
You know?
You can't. They was born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and they said it had to be this way. But that goes back to my point on World War II. And if everybody's seen Saving Private Ryan, the World War II people that were still alive said that beach scene was as real as anything they'd ever seen in a movie. And 70% of those young men didn't even get to put their feet on the beach before they were killed. And, you know, I guarantee you them generals would say, well, it had to be that way. Well, no, because if you put them generals and their sons on both sides on that beach, they wouldn't have been a shot fired. So if the people running this, if they had to do without electricity, be sick and not have a roof over their head, be kicked out, and have all these unconstitutional courts still taking their kids away, they would have done it different. So that's why I don't think it had to be this way. What bothers me is they allowed, even though this so-called movie, for the last 7 years, they have allowed these courts to run roughshod over us, and people don't know how to fight. That's like that. Here's what it relates to. It's like saying, okay, you've never fought in your life, you don't know martial arts, but you're going to fight Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris at the same time. They wouldn't even, they would cheat, but they're taking kids away. And if y'all followed me, case that I asked for a jury trial, the guy bought a debt, $2,000, $41,000, and 2 years of trying. Arkansas state law in the 17th Amendment is for a trial by jury. They have no choice. And after 2 years, well, I wasn't even allowed a court case. He was given the decision for $41,000. Now all that they can do is put a lien on my house. That right there should have took everybody to the YMCA, and hopefully it will. But these people, I guess they're just going to go down with the ship because they know they're going to jail anyway. But there's no doubt that they know. You can't tell me people, these judges and everything, know that we're back to a constitutional republic. And I guess it's
not. No way. I mean, that's what I want. That's what everybody should want, but that's not where we're at.
Well, DC is just the city of Washington, and the corporation's bankrupt. Now, this is just, they're allowing continuity of government to keep everybody, I guess, from going nuts. But enough's enough. They should have. I don't understand why. Now, I've got a friend in Missouri that said he's been driving without a license plate for a long time and had one of the codes, one of the EOs that Trump put out on there, and he's had police behind him and they hadn't done anything. He said the judge that ruled, he had the similar thing. He had a judge that
I read that they were supposed to stand down.
Yeah, they was. But he said the judge that ruled in his case, they ruled for the bank to take his house. And he said now that he wrote President Trump and the Department of Justice. He said now you can't even find that judge anywhere. He's been removed. They've left his house alone. He said usually where he lives, the court is full of cops and everything else. He said you might drive by there. He said they're slowly going to constitutional law. He's really into this stuff. He said you hardly ever see any traffic stops up in that part of Missouri, and it's slowly going everywhere. Now I know your place in Sedona, Arizona is still going the same, but I know that
extortion.
We're going to be let off. Yeah, they're going to be let off in hand switches. You got to remember, We are just a minute part of this universe. There is going to be highly intelligent beings coming down here. What they look like, I've heard the Palladians are all tall and good looking and saying, woohoo, all right. All us guys ought to like that. But they are supposed to come down in the only way from us all going nuts, and that's including me and you, Gail, my friend from Area 51, who has stated, I asked him what do they look like. Are they all alien and predator? He said, no, a lot of them, Mitch. He said, there are some like that, but he said, a lot of them, you can run into Walmart and not tell the difference between them and us. They just like to explore. And he flew in off-world technology, seen the real Men in Black, and they are watching us, and without them, they've got some kind of way to calm everybody down. But since we're talking about Men in Black, he said the truest thing about Men in Black, you've got to remember our lives are scripted. I have a theory that 80% is scripted, 20% we can use as a rudder to guide it one way or the other with free will. But he said the most real thing, even though everything in Men in Black was real, he said those eyes that popped up at the end of the movie laughing and playing marbles with the earth is true. We're run by ancient beings, and there is a prime creator, and it's just really a game to them, just like Forge of Empires, that game where this caveman and his woman are sitting there, and it says Forge of Empires from the Stone Age to the New Age, and they drop that stuff down, it starts getting into houses. This is just a little Monopoly game to these beings. If you like, it stands out in Kong Skull Island, this black guy that's going through these tunnels. And he said, I have a theory of inner earth with all these tunnels. Well, that's the truth. And he said, this world is run by ancient beings. Steven Seagal said in Out for Justice, oh, my friend, we are puppets on a string and our masters are insane. You got to go by the movies. Shakespeare said, oh, we're just actors in a play. Life's a stage, my friend. And most women on stage are men. Our life's been a drag show. Yeah, I mean, our life's been a drag show. It's been run by satanic cannibals who are inverted, mainly men. Now the women are inverted, but it's mainly by, and it's nothing against people of different sexual preference, but there is a difference between somebody who just prefers the same sex and somebody who don't prefer like them and they worship Satan and they're cannibals and they torture children. That's a whole different ball game. I know a few people that are same sex preference. One was a good friend of mine that unfortunately died. He was a natural hero. He'd do anything for me. They would never hurt a child. They would run help a child. And speaking of that, I mean, there's nobody, if we had all learned to come together, I mean, there ain't nobody I know of, even the baddest dude who's seen a child hurt, he'd run and help it. He wouldn't think, well, wait, that's a black kid, or that's a white kid, or that's a Christian kid, or that's a Muslim kid. They go right to it. And if we could get our head out of our ass and realize we were all one in the Creator, there was a guy who showed on TikTok this vehicle that turned over, and there's two kids in it. They was like 15, 16 people run to that SUV and turn that up and save those kids. I don't know those people, but you can tell by looking at them. There's men, women, there's different colors. I can guarantee you that 2 or 3 were different nationalities. I guarantee you they had different religions, different political views. I don't know if they's gay, straight, whatever, but they were different in that way. But at that moment, they dropped all them. They dropped their pride, ego, all their all the stuff that comes with us by labeling people. They went over there, come together as one, and they saved a life. Why can't we do that? Trump said it today. He quoted John 12. Now, the Bible is allegorical and metaphorical, but he said, no one has seen God. But yet, if you love one another, then God is inside us all. And we can, he said something like, if we could come together under one God and one nation, what could we do? And that's the truth. John D. Rockefeller, a close relative of mine, one of the most evil men in the world. Oh my gosh. He started the hospitals, the schools, I need a nation of workers, not thinkers. That's why we're not taught money management in schools and everything else. You've got to read The Secret Masonic Covenant of John D. Rockefeller. They started him, the Rothschilds, started all the wars, profited off all the wars, killed millions and millions of people, started pharmaceutical oil. When he found out pharmaceuticals be made out of oil, and when they killed all the natural healers or put them in jail, when they found out his pharmaceuticals was causing cancer, he come up with the American Cancer Society. You just got to look, the medical symbol, the one snake is the rod of Asclepius, 33-degree Mason satanic. The 2 snakes are the rod of Caduceus. But if you will read his secret covenant, it starts out talking about us, Gail. All illusion we will create. Those who will see, it's so vast. Those who could see through it will be thought of as insane. He goes through talking about getting initiates in the media, the medical system, making us fatter, giving us more medicine, making us think they're healing us, but making us sicker. But at the end is the most important part. We will create a religion that's ours, immortal. They have made up every religious belief to divide us. That religion, guys, I am sorry if you are hanging on to any religion or my way is the only way. Let me tell you something. Just because someone's on a different path don't mean they're lost. That is 80% of their control. If they didn't have religion, we would have had peace on earth. We'd have never had this problem. But it says we will create a religion, ours immortal. That's to divide us, to distract us, to control us through fear, false evidence appearing real, so they can have the abundance that the Creator meant for both of us, but most of all, so they can have the blood of our children. But it said, if they ever find out they are our equals, and that we are all one in the Creator, they will come together and vanquish us. And it will raise the fury of the prime Creator, meaning there's more, and the prime Creator will cast us out into eternity forever, or infinity forever. If people would read that and people would just have an open mind. Charlie Ward, I don't like him anymore. I used to follow him, but he does say some things are true.
2.0 too.
Yeah, in 2.0, he's been taken care of. But he said the mind is like a parachute. If it's not useless, I mean, it's useless if it isn't open. But also, you got to open your heart. You can have an open mind and a closed heart. And speaking of closed hearts, it's not really closed hearts, but there's so many concerned. I almost got that way for a long time. And they're like, I'm done with it. I don't care if it happens now. I'm just beat down. Well, look, it's happening. All right, we're a little bit as bad as anybody in the world. And if something don't happen this month, it goes on, I don't know what I'm going to do. But you've got to realize we just because it didn't happen our way, the people do know more than what we do. I know 1/1,000,000th of 1% of everything, but it's here, and there's no sense in getting mad, getting our feelings hurt and everything else. It didn't happen when we thought or anything else. It's going to happen. It's happening now. Now, is this going to be instantly over? Well, unless the off-world beings just do a Men in Black deal and flash it and everything else, hell no, it's not going to be. But I've always been saying, let's get it started. We ain't even got this started yet. There's going to be a lot of healing. There's going to be a lot of hurt people. We're going to be hurt. But what I want to get back to my friend from Area 51, he said, it's going to be like the day the earth stood still. He said, as much as I've seen, there's people that know 100 times more than me. He said, Mitchell, you think you're prepared and you're going to survive it. These people that are running around that think everything's normal and Biden's president and everything else, he said, they're not going to survive it. But he said, my top people, the most knowledgeable people about this stuff is still going to be stunned. That's how vast. There's only going to be about 2 to 10 people that know everything. So, but yes, guys, I have hurt you people hurting financially. I hadn't had nothing for the last 2 years, but that's of my own choice. If you follow me for a while, the head injury and cancer and losing my mom, it really made me go crazy. I was worth $1 million. I had 200 acres of land. I went totally nuts. I stuttered for a year, well, about a year or two. I had to go through therapy, everything else. And if I hadn't had that head injury, I wouldn't have never sold my farm. It was precious to me, but I was out of my mind. I taught my ass investments, gambled, and I lost that on my own. But I still have hurt, and I was working hard before COVID come along, and I was working 80 hours a week, 2 jobs. I was making $1,000, $1,500 a week, and I was back on top. And since then, it got really bad. I had to sell the last 20 acres I had outside my house. I did use my last $20,000 for the last 2 years. I have sat here. I've had friends and helped me feed my dogs. My daughter give me money. I mean, I know what it's like. We hadn't had no money. And I'm thinking it's coming. I'm thinking we're eventually going to everybody's going to get a small check. Now, guys, you can't get all your birth certificate back. Yes, we're worth millions, but right now, until they get the new technology, look at me, for example, 70% of people who go broke, who get an inheritance or win a lottery, go broke. We wouldn't work. It would go back to where it was. The military has got to dump the crimes against children. You got to change your heart. They are not going. And if I'll tell you, if I was running it, there is no way I'd give you all your money back, because we've got to work. Money is going to eventually not, when this is all complete, it's going to go back to like 1950s. Nobody's going to have to worry about money, but you cannot. I tell you right now, I've got a lazy streak in me. If I got a big $100,000 check, I wouldn't hit a lick at nothing. I think they're going to give about a $1,700 to a $3,000 check to everybody, maybe $5,000, depending on your situation. And I think you're going to get an increment of anywhere. Now, don't get mad at me. This is just me guessing, from $500 to $1,500, $3,500 a month. But the thing is, that is thinking like, oh, if the prices stay the same. But at the same time, gas has went down 30 cents a gallon here. I don't know if it'll stay down, maybe to go up during Memorial Day. I talked to somebody in one state, it was down below $2 a gallon. But as they're giving us that money, now this is just me guessing. I am terrible with money, so don't listen. This is just me guessing. Somebody asked. I think you're going to start seeing groceries go down. I think you're going to start seeing gas go down below $2 a gallon. And then you're thinking, well, heck, all this money, I'm not making all this much, but why have I got all this money? It's because food, the reason they're doing a lot of this, there's poisons in the food. They're trying to get us back to eating natural stuff like vegetables, organic stuff, and everything else. So a lot of that stuff they're raising on that is to keep us from eating.
Well, and then they wonder why people aren't waking up more. Well, they've been poisoned and brainwashed and fed nothing but lies. It's a little bit difficult for a lot of people who haven't had the time to catch up with all of this stuff. And, we can tell them to do their own research all we want. But if they're working a full-time job and they got a family and they got shit to do, it's not that easy to take the time to find all that out. So that's why people follow people. That's why people listen to other people, because some of the people, when, like myself, I'm retired. So I do this because I want to do this, and I don't get paid for it. I mean, I ask for donations because it costs money to do this too. But that's not the purpose from the very beginning. In the very beginning, I never asked for a dime. But anyway, it's difficult for people. They're having a rough time.
You said 12. There's either people working 12, 14 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, or they're working 3 jobs, 2 jobs.
I've been there, done that. I can't do it anymore.
Even back when I was in tip-top shape, I was working 12, 14 hours a day logging, and I worked out in the gym, but there ain't no way I could come in and do the research I do now. So they're asking a lot of people, and that goes back to put them on the front lines. All right, Trump and who else is running this, y'all work a hard labor job like a lot of these great men and women do, and you work 12 hours a day, then come in and feed the dogs, the cats, kids, get their homework done, get them to bed and everything, and then you sit down and do about 3 or 4 or 5 hour research, get about 2 hours of sleep and go back. You can't do it. And that is, you do have a good point. Don't follow. Why people follow, but the thing is, at the same time, they follow too many people that's giving them what they want to hear. Bullshit. So that's one thing people say about me is I don't give them what they want to hear, and that's why so many people got mad at me, because I tell them my source is not in this week, and this was 2-3 years ago. Even I put out a lot of information packets, and people would say, "Oh, your source is deep state. It'll end tomorrow." I said, he said it might end, and this was when it first started, maybe 2 years from now, but wouldn't guarantee it. And then I told him, no, it could be another 3, 4, 5 years. Oh, he's deep state. I said, no, he's not. He's just telling the truth. He's just not telling you what you want to hear. But I don't know. There's a lot of people listening out there, but I put together some research pamphlet of mine called The Storm and the Key. And what's funny, I know there's eventually going to be some followers. I'm going to ask them every once in a while on videos, and I put them out at Bentley's and other places, but I went on a trip all the way up to southwest Nebraska and put them out everywhere, talked to bikers and everything else. But I also, let's say someone anonymously sent emails with them out to every state in the United States and would find addresses and send them out anonymously. And then there's one place, that a town called Americus, Kansas, just like the name, and they got a lot of people, a lot of stuff anonymously in different places. So I'm hoping to run into somebody one day on one of these interviews, or these podcast of mine and say, I got the Storm of the Key. That was you that sent it, or I picked it up at Bentley's or whatever. But I bet you I put out 1,000 of them. And I know people showed up in the mail and started saying Trump's still president and Biden's an actor. But it was really good stuff and really good information. That's how I got into this. But I know one day somebody's going to say, hey, I got that in the mail, or I would put stacks of them at these restaurants and everything else. But
somebody's asking you a question, and they want to know what was the problem with Charlie Ward. I know, but you can explain.
Well, you probably know more than me. Charlie Ward was he was definitely a shyster, and he used wouldn't you agree, Gail? He used people to get rich and sell his.
And he was into the child sex trafficking too. He's a pedophile.
Yeah, he actually. I've heard two different things. I don't think he ever act like Jerry Savelle or Jimmy Savelle with girls and boys.
Yes.
Yeah, and which is just as bad. So yes, yeah, he has already took a one-way trip to the YMCA. That's Gitmo. He has been executed. And I believe the real Charlie Ward was 6'4". I think this one's shorter than me. He's probably 6 foot, probably 5'11", something like that. But he don't even look nothing like it. Just like David Nino Rodriguez. I liked him, but I got tired of hearing his bullshit. But I think he's been taken care of. And 2 or 3 or more of those others. David Rodriguez, Nino, he interviewed a lot with Charlie Ward. He was a former boxer.
Oh yeah. He 107 does shows with him all the time.
You know, it's funny. Look down what you just said. You said 107, and we're at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds. Can you believe that? When you said, I see that thing. 107, he's a jackass. I don't like that guy. If he ends up, I hope to God he don't end up being JFK or JFK Jr., because they might not be jackasses, but they can sure act well, because he is a jackass. That woman, matter of fact, that spiritual woman said, I was doing skits making fun of 107 Charlie Ward, and she said, and I got a letter in the mail, and I told Lisa, I said, it was from an anonymous place in Texas. And I said, you want to open this up? It's a letter bomb. She said, go ahead. I said, are you kidding? That's my wife. And I said, no, there's 17 coins. I think there are pennies in here, by the way. What are you talking about? And there was 17 pennies in there. And I'm like, that's weird. And then that spiritual woman said, throw them in the Greer's Ferry Lake. I said, why? She said, that was sent to curse you. Well, I wasn't going to take no damn chances. The woman told me about my adoption from 52 years ago. I took them and threw them in Greer's Ferry Lake. And she said, that was a redheaded woman that watched you at the place you eat at West Side that you like so much. She said she sat in there and watched you, and she put a curse on those pennies and sent them to you. I said, well, there's a few redheaded women there. She says, there's none you know. She's out of Texas, and she was sent up here. She said, now this is what she said, but the reason the woman's believable, because she knew about my adoption, she was sent to you for 107. You picked 107 off, and he sent her to you to curse you. And she said, you can believe it or not, but 107 is sat in that restaurant in a mask and watched you. Can I confirm that? But all I know is she was accurate on my adoption. So I threw them damn pennies in the lake.
Wow.
Yeah, and they was an FBI agent in there watching. And of course, that was probably because of my adoption. But I noticed this one guy that I've got good awareness. I'm amazed at the lack of awareness, the instincts that people have lost. And I'm like, well, I hadn't seen that guy in there before. And, you know, you send these FBI, CIA guys in that built like they're just out of Marine boot camp and everything else. Everybody's going to look at them. You got to send regular guys, pot belly and everything. This guy was probably about 6'4", looked like from his legs and everything, sitting down, had cowboy boots on, had a mustache, pot belly, and he just like, I said, that guy ain't right. Well, one of my followers was in there, and I left, and boy, my phone blew up, or my TikTok blew up. Hey, man, you better shut the hell up. You better shut the F up. They're going to come get you. As an FBI agent watching you, he started asking questions about you. I said, yeah, he did look. No, he said, they're coming to get you. You made the police mad, and I have made the police mad by exposing the law, plus a lot of stuff here going on in Cleveland, up in the county. That's all I can say. I've made him really mad.
Someone has put in the comment, 107 is a dancer. He dances around every answer.
Yeah, he is. But the FBI was watching me, and even the owner come up and said, look, that freaked people out when that guy was there, kind of not mention us for a while and everything. Nobody's wanting to come in here. But yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff going on up here. And I've been gang stalked like a lot of police by the law enforcement and everything else, like from county to county. And even my friend can vouch at the Waffle House, it meets at the Waffle House in Morton. Every time we pulled up there, he started just pushing us. Let them follow me, and they'd follow me from county to county. Area. They was two waiting on me at the end of the road out in the middle of nowhere at the north part of that wilderness area at 2 o'clock in the morning after I got done running my dogs, and there's one waiting down on the line, and then they would come in. I had one guy from one of those Area 51 places come in out of nowhere and start a conversation, and he made it clear that he had been there 17 years. He had seen the aliens. This was Morton, Arkansas, Waffle House. But my buddy Tommy can confirm this. We was in there one night, and we was only people in there. And when somebody's wearing sunglasses at night, you better watch them. Here come this little 5'2", 5'3" dude, sunglasses at night, and he comes all the way and sits behind my buddy. And you can tell, I don't care what, you can tell somebody who is trained ex-military. I said, hush. And I think I seen a wire device, and he would listen, and he would just listen. I said, just talk normal. I said, because we was talking about this stuff. He'd look, and I think he was recording us. He's listened to us, and later on, the guy that met me at the smokehouse, I said something to him, and he said, yes, he was from unit so-and-so from this port. So I knew my instincts are good. That little son of a gun was sitting there recording me, trying to get something on me, and these cops would now, the Morton area has a lot of cops in the area. I don't know if it's crime or they're just trying to get speeding tickets, but they would just like one would pass off and ride my bumper, like trying to get me to swerve or something else like that. And another one would come up, and it was just something, believe me, if you've hunted at a place 35 years and the first 32 or 33, you know, you might see a cop every once in a while, and then they're all over you, following you out in the wilderness there and everything. You know something's wrong. A lot of it has to do with finding out who I really am, and a lot of it has to do with me exposing what's going on in the area. And it's all I can say is they're hooked up with a very popular people that's well known. And those people, I even had somebody dressed as a fake detective come to my door right here in front of me and accuse me of stealing and trying to get me to step out. And I guess I'm not a badass. I will fight if I have to, but everybody tells me my on the door, and I thought he was a detective at the time. I think by my appearance, he's like, man, that guy might be hard to handle. He did have a gun on, and ended up, I called the sheriff's department, and there was no man named like that. And then my top source said, yeah, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble for putting this information out. It was fake detective. You better keep your mouth shut. But they was trying to tell me, actually, I come out all excited. I guess he thought I was ready to fight because I talked to a deputy when I was trying to find my dog, and I told him, I said, if you see this dog, please call me. And there he was dressed as a detective. I come out, did you find my dog Molly? And he's like, no, have you been over here stealing stuff? Somebody's found your hunting license with your phone number. I said, Arkansas hunting license don't have no phone number. And I said, you mean you didn't even go talk to him? You're a detective and you did not get fingerprints and everything else? I said, and he made the comment. I said, you get back with me. He said, oh, I will. And come to find out, I think he was trying to get me away from here to do you know what, but they was not happy with me at all. And that's because I'm telling the truth. But I've got some death switches out. I've got a former Marine that's a follower. I got people in different states. Of course, Space Force follows me everywhere. I promise you, if somebody tried to do something to me or my family, it wouldn't be 24 hours before they'd be picked up. Now, I'm not wanting that to happen. And, but we're all being watched. Gail, in a way, you're being gang stalked. Everybody else, every follower of mine has a story of being gang stalked, either by people in public service offices and everything else. But we're going to go back to the Andy Griffiths days, and those in law enforcement who have took advantage of us, who are not willing to go back. Well, they're either going to lose their jobs, or if they've done bad enough things, it's going to be a bad deal for them.
They're supposed to be peace officers, not police officers.
But
peace,
you know,
PEACE, not revenue generators.
Well, they're actually debt, but you know, policia, policy, they are for corporation. And guys, if you're in law enforcement,
and they're mercenaries, technically
they're mercenaries. And you know, almost I think all of them are Masons. They're a brotherhood. I'm not sure if the lower level ones know, because I've talked to people. I know not all of them do, because I've talked to people that quit because of it. I had a guy that become friends, moved here from California. He follows the 17th letter, and he did not know. He said he was talking to his former captain back in California, and he said He said, if we knew what we knew, we wouldn't have done it. So there is good men and women out there. I know people. There is, you say you know people, you don't even really know your wife or kids or anything. The only thing you really know is yourself. But still, there's people I know from just the vibes and everything, or telling the truth, or not. And I've been stopped by several police officers that I knew wasn't bad. They were in the illusion. This was when I didn't really know what they was doing is wrong. And they would, my wife said something, well, you're bad mouthing all these police officers. You're laying in a car wreck, bleeding to death. You'd need them. I said, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to wait until somebody is hurt. But this one follower of mine in South Carolina, it's a good story. This guy stopped and gave her a ticket. And by the way, guys, you can write, even by the maritime law, you can write UD next to your name. Don't argue with them. And that's under duress. And because you will be taken to jail if you don't sign that you'll show up to court. And,
before you do it.
Yeah, it's impossible to prosecute. But anyway, she stopped and she said, well, before I sign this ticket, young man, she said, I want to ask you one question. If the government told you to turn on the American system, will you fight for them or us? He said, ma'am, I'd fight for y'all. She said, I'll pay the ticket. That was a good man. He was honest and everything else. And I believe there's many a good people out there, because if they fight against the American system, this just goes by sense. Family,
Break it out.
everything else. And my top source said 80. My top source said 80% of the military would not turn on the American people. They would not go against American people. Now, I did almost get.
Oh my God.
Well, I got frustrated because I almost said, and I didn't want to make him mad because he's been good to me, but I almost said, you said you wouldn't turn weapons on us, but what you're complying at right now, you admitted when this started they knew it's going to do great, irreversible psychological, emotional, and mental harm to Americans. You're compliant in that, and that's much worse than turning weapons, but I don't believe they would. But what's scary is the National Guard is powerful. I mean, they're a standing army that will beat most outside countries. But he stated that if you went against us, and this is just a fact, it's not saying he would, for every 10 of us we'd get 1,000 of y'all. That means they are so they've got so much technology. Even all the mixed ex-military in the world, we couldn't do it unless they sided with us. They've got technology that can actually, about Tesla's rods of God. I could be sitting here and they could shoot it through me and blow up something a mile deep. They've got technology can actually vaporize people. All that stuff in the movie's real. The Invisible Man and everything else. For God's sakes, they had a weapon back in 1990. Jay Leno read about it on that little deal he did with articles out of the newspaper. They've got, and I asked my friend from Area 51, is that true? And he said, oh, that's old news. But they've got a weapon that you can shoot your enemy and make them lose control of their bowels and crap all over themselves. Who can fight like that? And they've used it. They shoot against you, and they shoot it, and you totally lose everything from your stomach down like that. You're going to have to be mentally strong to fight.
All this kind of stuff has just got to stop.
Yeah, it's just got to stop. But that's why the aliens are scared of us, because we're such a warlike people. That's why what we're doing is affecting the rest of this universe and everything beyond the ice wall. There's a lot of stuff on the ice wall. That's finally why they had to do it, because all the nuclear weapons have been disarmed. Guys, do not. The famous one, I know for a fact, most of it was recorded in the Arizona desert in August 2023. A lot of Trump stuff is pre-recorded. Some of it might be live. Most of it's already pre-recorded and done. Nuclear weapons that was just used as a fear tactic. I think at least 10 years ago, from my top source, there is no way that we're going to have one. It's not going to happen, because most people in other countries got enough sense. They don't want their people to die either. So don't worry about that. It is not going to happen 100% guaranteed, but it is going to be used to scare the normies.
Okay. And they need to be scared into seeing what's really going on. It's being mentioned here that Obama tried to eliminate the patriotic members of the military. And, we've been saying all along, the military is the only way. The military is the only way. But we had some pretty bad people in the military, too, which I find rather frightening. Oh, no, there's a lot. My next door neighbor, she's straight up. I didn't think she'd even want to talk to me. I mean, she's just straight up. She's a good person.
she's career military, her and her husband. Her husband passed away, and she, one day is talking. I said, man, my friends think I'm crazy. I said, she said, what, Mitch? And I said, well, I tell them that these elites are cannibals and they drank the blood of children, adrenochrome. She said, well, your friends are going to be surprised when the truth's done. I said, what? She said, oh my gosh. She said, yeah. She said, the only way me and my husband kept saying is faith in God. She said, our commanders was doing it the whole 20 years. She said, especially the Army. And she said, yeah, there's a deep state military. And I was just shocked. And I said, there's a lady that don't follow conspiracy that confirms that trafficking is bad down to the military. And look, you're old enough to remember everybody's on our tax dollars for $60,000. Military was paying $60,000 for toilet seats and hammers.
Right.
Well, does that sound familiar? $60,000 for hot dogs and pizza.
And when they did 9/11,
Under the White House.
9/11, how many trillions of dollars did they abscond with when everybody was distracted with the buildings going down?
Well, yeah, but the toilet seats, it's symbolism. The toilet seats, guys, I'm not being nasty, but what's a toilet seat shaped like? A part of a woman. That was a little girl. A hammer, a penis of a little boy. They was selling boys and girls and calling them hammers and toilet seats, just like a pizza.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
No, a toilet seat represented a little girl's vagina and a hammer represented a little boy's penis. And then you have the hot dogs, which is a little boy under the White House. The pizza, so Hillary Clinton said she likes pizza. Look at the shape. I'm not being dirty, but look at a slice of pizza. It looks like a woman's vagina. Also, you got what on Walmart? They was selling for hot dogs for $10,000, little boys' shoes, little boys' clothing for $10,000. That's not a typo. Walmart was selling them. They was selling pizzas, pillows. A girl is a pillow, and there's more mattress companies in the United States than coffee companies. There's $15,000 like Starbucks, 15,000 Starbucks, but there's 16,000 mattress companies. The mattresses is a girl, I think a girl or a boy or all of them. And you're going to be shocked at even your local mattress companies that are into human trafficking. A lot of those, they are sold. Yeah, it's going to, the funeral homes, they're into human trafficking. And I asked people, I said, where does all that blood go they're draining? I said, they're going to these real life vampires. Oh no, it's going, well, it might, some of the straight up funeral homes, I'm not saying all of them bad, they might be draining it, but a lot of that is going through that. And have you ever, do you know that's your relative that has been cremated? That could just be ashes. Have you ever took the clothes off and see if all their organs are there? They get those. Now, not everything's that way, but Hollywood's predictive programming, Phantasm, where that real tall guy that could carry coffins by himself, he was taking them and condemning them in an off world as slaves. But that's showing they are trafficking those bodies. And it gets so daggum deep. If you watch the 2016 Phantasm Ravager, it's kind of corny, but it talked about the old man, which is scary. He said he used to be he was a tall man, and he was an inventor, a good inventor, and he invented a time machine. He went into time and come back satanic, trying to take everybody to hell. Well, what's scary is Tesla was a tall man, and he invented the time machine, but let's not go there. But they talked about portals. They talked about a disease that come by at the end of that killed everybody in the world, that caused their heads to blow off. They was talking about COVID. And even during that little ball that goes around with the spike and chases people to kill them, it turned into a COVID spike and missed a guy and hit a guy in a mask that was showing COVID. I mean, you just got to look at Hollywood programming, and it's just unbelievable how deep this stuff goes. It's like Bermuda grass. If you ever pull Bermuda grass up and you pull a foot of the earth up, that's how this Khazarian mafia got infiltrated, and that's why it's took so long. This is probably thousands of years, but it's went on since Kennedy assassination, the final 60, 70 years of it. And I think they've got to give us some financial relief of some kind by the end of the year. If they don't give us money, they're going to have to drop the prices, because even the people who are normies that have no idea and don't care about conspiracy, they can't feed their family. So they are going to start going against Trump. They are going to start. I've even talked to many normies that was diehard Trump people, and they are regretting they don't, even though Kamala was an actor, who are you going to vote for? And they're even saying, he promised this. I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm wanting to see financial relief. But most of them are like us. They say, I want to see an arrest. We want to see an arrest. You there?
Sorry. He has been known to deliver on his promises. That's what he really has. So, you know, you have to give him a fair chance to do so. I mean, I need it just as much as anybody else does, but it's like, it's also, there's a lot of factors that come into play. Anyway, Mitchell, you're being asked by Mathis, what black swan event will wake up the normies? Earthquake, 8-hour tribunal hangings, Epstein, did he actually disclose what?
It's got to be WW3. If they still do it, it's got to be WW3 and the crimes against children. 90% of the people will stop. I mean, 90% of people are stopping their tracks. What's the worst thing you can be in prison is somebody who hurts kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the prisoners, all the big stuff. No disrespect to you prisoners. A lot of y'all shouldn't be in there. But once the blacks, the whites, the gangs, the white gangs, the Mexican gangs, everything else, if they'll ever drop it and show. Now, I've seen the stuff on Epstein Island, the lunchroom and everything else. God, it'd give people strokes. They don't need to show that. And they say there's stuff 1,000 times worse. I don't want to see any more of that. They have got to show some kind, they got to show 10% of it. But when it's dropped, if they'll ever do it, the prisoners are going to sit there. They're going to look at each other like, what the fuck are we fighting for? They're going to want to go after these people. I guarantee you there's some of them that don't know what's going on, that don't know these people have been taken care of, will go to their guards and say, I promise you, you let me out and we'll take care of these people and I'll come back. And they would. Everybody is going to, now there's some liberals that'll never wake up. It's because of pride and ego. And it's actually a mental illness, but 90% of the people will wake up. And that's the only way I'll do it. Plus the WW3 scenario. That's the only way. Then and only then will people find the will to change. Nothing other than that, financial, anything else will wake everybody up to where we can go into the new world. Plus, they keep talking about a solar flash. It's got to be those combinations of things. But if everybody realized they are all little men behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, and they are playing us and watching us fight, while they're things that you wouldn't think an animal would do to a kid. Animals just out there survive. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't for that. These people do it for pleasure. And they do it to, they're just reptilian. You know, I have got that bloodline in me. I do have the reptilian bloodline in me, but I have no desire to do that. And I know what it's like from both sides. I've fought a war all my life. I think it's from being both bloodlines and a product of a rape. Because if you do your research, people who have been conceived of a rape like I have, they do have emotional and spiritual problems because the mother's body wants to reject the baby. Plus the mother a lot of times don't want it because it's unconsensual relations. And but yeah, these people are really, really bad people, but there's a lot of good people that come out of it. Chester Bennington, he's a Rockefeller, but I truly believe he's still alive. If y'all are fans of Lincoln Park, I can't confirm that, but he got supposedly committed suicide after he joined a human trafficking task force. Robin Williams, I believe he's still alive. I know some of these others are, and I get taken down every time I say it, so I won't say it, but they turned. And unless they are putting some kind of psyop on us, working together, making us think they're good and anything's a possibility, they're turning and they're coming back. And I think I can't confirm it, I think there's going to be around 900 come out. I don't really have no desire I'm not really nothing. Yeah, my story's special, but I mean, I was listed dead as a baby. I didn't have time to become famous. Would I have if I'd have stayed in that bloodline family? Maybe, but it all worked out for me. I have no desire to, if I had to and I was able to, I would be a leader, but I'm kind of behind the scenes guy. I'm kind of like Woody Woodpecker in a good way. You know, Woody Woodpecker, instigator. Well, I'm kind of instigating, trying to get people woke up, paying good fourth leaders who have leadership quality, who's led in the military or businesses and everything else. And I was telling somebody the other day, what do I do? I said, I need you to lead, or if you've got good qualities, I don't mind being a gopher. I'm just trying to wake people the hell up. If you want me to be at the head of a line and go to protest or whatever, I don't mind, but I have not got the temperament to talk to people face to face, and if they get smart with me and everything like that. But y'all heard me, y'all that's followed me, have heard me talk about this. This actually happened at Quitman. We had 2 bullies on the school ground. I won't say they ended up being wonderful people, friends of mine. One unfortunately died here a while back, but they grew up, but they were beat the crap out of all of us. So I think it was 10 or 12 of us made a pact. Okay, if one of us gets picked on, we all go after it. Well, sure enough, we knew it every day is going to happen to one of us. Next day, oh, he's picking on so-and-so. Well, we surround him. He dropped the little kid and he said, come on, you little SOBs. I'm going to beat every one of you. Well, nobody go in. They's like, who goes first? That's kind of like if you're surrounding a grizzly bear. That first 1 or 2 is going to go in there. They're going to get tore up. I'm like, oh gosh, I was about the biggest, strongest guy out there. And I thought, I'll go. Well, I think, well, once he got me down, they was all going to be on him and it would all be over with. Well, man, next thing I know, my lip was bleeding. He cut my tongue. My head was smashed to the ground. And I looked up and all 11 of their little asses was running to the school. They run. We can't do that. We've all got to stick together, and we've got to stay together and stick together. We can't have, you know, a group get together and one
People
or two
have to back each other up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
and that's
when
what
you're standing for what's right and not be such a chicken about it. I mean, a lot of people just, oh, I don't want to get involved, or I don't want, and I understand that because we were programmed that way.
Yeah. But I don't want to,
you know, the every man for himself scenario.
I don't want to be a group with like you and me and some other people, and let's go up there and we've got 1,000 people. We're going to back up. Well, we're going to protest the White House, and they come out and arrest a dozen of us, and we're headed off to jail. Next thing I know, everybody's driving back in their car to eat supper that night. I'm not going to do that. I want some badass people back.
And look at how many people ended up staying in that jail for what, 4 years?
Yeah.
However long they were there, that was just unbelievable and unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. That is terrible. And I just want to mention real quick, Mitchell, that Pudbark is saying that we all have some reptilian DNA, among other species as well. So everybody's got some of that. Yeah,
we got alien DNA and everything else, and you know, this whole thing is supposed to be made into a movie, and we're supposed to be heroes at the end of this, and everything else. I just want peace. I don't care if anybody ever remembers my name. I just want peace forever. Go back. I can't go back to my old life because I was a big time hunter. I've been on the Outdoor Channel twice in '98. I've been a regular on the show, but that's some underhanded stuff. Not the people I was working with are Illuminati, but SCI, the Outdoor Channel, the Home Improvement, the top ones are Illuminati too. But they were doing very dishonest stuff. They was going in pens and hunting deer and airing his fair chase. And I got into it with the producer. So that's underhand stuff, but I've changed all the animals that I have. You know, I've got some hanging on my wall. You can see this turkey behind me. That was my life, but I'm getting where I hadn't killed anything in 2 years. I take my dogs out and run rabbits, but that's about all I do. I've got to where I can't even fillet a fish unless for sure it's dead. It's really changed. I don't ever see being able to go out, and I ain't guaranteed it, but right now, unless I need the meat, that was my pastime. Now, athletics, especially basketball, lifting weights was, and now if we heal, that'll be a good pastime for me, and helping people. I can still go to the outdoors, take pictures, travel. We'll have new places to travel past the ice wall, but I can't go back to my old life as far as hunting. Now, I would like to have my farm back. I would like to go back to
I would like to have a farm. That would be a small farm.
Yeah, and my farm.
You know, there's a lot of us that are for want of a lot of different things, but it's not materialistically for that so much, just to be you know, comfortable.
One thing I want to say on the children, I forgot to mention, don't show all the terrible stuff. It will break people's hearts. I seen a video to where it didn't show nothing terrible about the children, but it showed the children, especially I think there's African children and some other country that this had been done to in Haiti and everything else, and the military had found them and was giving them back to their parents, and I cried like a baby. If they would just show a little bit of proof to people how bad it is and show them children coming back to them, everybody would melt. But one thing stood out when I first started watching this, to be real, it looked like there's this 6'10" Marine. The worst. He's coming out of a tunnel, and he had it looked like a little puppy. He was so big, and his hands so big. He had a little baby in his two hands, and he was down like this, just melted. That's how bad it was. And they said, on good authority, they said some of these hardened cops and these Marines that have seen this have lost their minds when they've seen what happened to these kids. And enough's enough. I mean, I got it confirmed, from somebody who worked for the law enforcement. That was true. All the bones of children they found under all those celebrities' house that burned in Hollywood, and they were putting blood and bones in those cement companies, putting it in the cement. The cement was involved. It is all absolutely true.
Yeah.
But see, the normal person can't wrap their mind around it. So these people, they add
That's
a little
why
bit.
they have to have the military tribunals to show it, so that these people wake up, because that will change everything. Because once they find out what they've been doing to our children, we already know, but they don't know, and they don't want to hear it. They keep saying, "Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, that's not that bad."
Yeah,
they
can't
don't have any idea, and
well, sometimes
be shocked.
Sometimes the truth's so unbelievable, you just a normal human can't believe it. I mean, who would ever think back when we was kids watching those Texas Chainsaw movies and everything else like that, that's real. I was saying, I kind of thought it was funny as a kid, but that first Texas Chainsaw, and that guy was putting people in the barbecue, and I'm like, boy, that would be really sick if it was real, and not even dawning on me. They're showing everybody what the hell they're actually doing. And it's just, but they're from the bloodline of Cain. They can't be. I know all of us, what you said is true, is some reptilian, but they are full reptilian or majority reptilian.
Oh yeah.
And there is no human who's half human or full do that unless they have totally lost their mind. I mean, it's very rare.
They're possessed by a demon.
They're possessed by a demon. And, they have sold their soul. There is some, like the stars and everything else, that have sold their soul for fame and fortune, and they're called the initiates, so they're actually human. But a lot of them, I've seen credible stuff from Hollywood. A lot of them, it's not them, and a lot of them are good people. That's why you see these one-hit wonders. They got out there, and then they say, hey, you're going to have to join the club. And they're like, I'll just go back to working at the local Sonic and everything. I ain't doing that. But a lot of them, what they will do is they will either drug their drink when they get popular, or they've got a little pen. I watch this Hollywood guy talk about, and they will come by and stick you. You're going along, talking to everybody, think you're going to be famous, think these are all cool dudes. And next thing you know, you wake up naked in bed with a child, and they've got pictures of you. So, hey, so you're going to join the club, or we're going to put this everywhere, and you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life and be tortured and raped by these prisoners thinking you're a child molester. That's why there's so many suicides in Hollywood. So what I would do, as a young man, if I was talented and went out there and everything and not knowing what I know now, I would commit suicide, because what do you got? Everybody's going to think you're a pedophile, your friends, family, probably even your parents. You're going to go to jail. You're going to be tortured. You're going to be done. I'm certainly not going to purposely hurt a child. So the only way out, and I'm not saying suicide is good, but that would be the only way out, because you think about it, you got those three choices, and no human is going to go, I don't care what you say. All right, you set me up, and I am not going to go any farther, or they could kill you themselves. But there's no way. I'm just so glad that I wasn't. I always wanted to be a good athlete. I wanted to be a pro ball player. I even went to Oklahoma State to try out for the football team, even though Quitman didn't have one when Jimmy Johnson was coach. And Barry Sanders is year 4 he got there, and Thurman Thomas is out there, and Leslie O'Neal, and I don't think I could even made the team. I wasn't, but thank God I wasn't a 4'2", 40 guy and could bench press 400 pounds. And I would have, been famous and went to the pros, because I'd end up being one of these guys, or being one of these people that actually had an accident, because I wouldn't have never done that. And I've talked to plenty of people. There's plenty of pro football players. They're out there. They're all in the club. I know that not to be true. I've had a friend of mine had a son that played in the NFL a year. I guarantee you that young man, if he was approached them, he wouldn't have done that stuff. I talked to a football player who a follower of mine told me to call. He had some good advice on law. He played for several of the teams. And he said, man, I was just a family guy. He said, what them guys did after dark, he said, I just went home. I run into, if anybody from Memphis or the NBA or remember the guy named Lorenzan Wright, I run into him at Heber Springs. That man, I could tell the man was good, but I knew he was around 6'10", 6'11", and his wife was my height, 6 foot, 6'1". And I thought, where have I seen that guy? And he come down and I said, where have I seen you? He said, I'm Lorenzan Wright. I said, oh yeah. And he sat down on a shopping cart and I still had to look up at him. And he said, man, and I was a hunting guy at the time. He still had my card. And it was I done videos on it and had got a lot of hits, but it was so sad because he had bought a place here in Heber Springs. And that guy was a good man. He was a good man. And he said, man, I'm going to retire, Mitch, in a couple of years. And I want you to take me hunting. And all I was thinking about was, how am I going to get a man this big in a stand and whatever? And then he had bought a place next to one of my wife's friend's husband. And what was funny is my friend's 6'4", and he said he went out hunting with Lorenzan and a guy named Big Country is 7 foot, and their friend is 5'5", and talked about what a good guy he is. And there's a woman that works at the West Side place at West Side of Edat. You can't make this up. Her husband grew up with them in Memphis, knew his parents, talked about what a good man he was. Well, I never will forget, he got traded to the Hawks after that. I never will stood out. His wife stood right there, and I think they had their 6 kids. And he said, man, I'm going to get back with you. And I think I'd have made a lifelong friend with that man. He said, as soon as I retire, I want you to teach me how to hunt. And the man walked off and he got traded to the Hawks. And I was watching him play one day. And my wife don't know anything about sports. I said, look, I thought you said he was tall. And I said, he was. She said, he ain't no taller than you. She said, everybody else is height. I said, honey, you don't understand how big those guys are. I said, you see that little bitty guy right there? She said, yeah. I said, he's 4 inches taller than me. She said, really? I said, yeah. And then after that, I read an article I never will forget. Lorenzan Wright found dead, missing in Memphis, found dead 10 days later. And he was supposed to have done some stuff with drugs. And the article was he earned $54 million in his career, and he died broke. Well, I found out that to be bullshit because the wife that I stood there and looked at, you can do the research on this, had a contract put out on him because he had $1 million life insurance policy, and she was in debt $3 million after they got a divorce. And she had a deacon with her church and some other guys set him up, and somehow he was walking somewhere to meet his kids, and they ambushed him and made it look like he was doing drugs. And they found him, unfortunately, 10 days later, but it was even on 2020, and she got caught, and I think she's doing 30 years in jail, and the guys that done it are doing life. But that is just shows you what does it profit a man or a woman to gain the whole world and lose their soul. And I still think about that because the guy probably had my card, and he would be right now probably probably living right here, hunting with me and everything else. So I kind of got off on that just to show you how precious life is and some of the interesting things that's happened to me. But that man right there was not one of the Illuminati. I know he earned $54 million. There is good professional players out there and coaches, but there's a lot of them that have sold their soul, Gail.
Wow.
That's a good story. A big part of the movie they're going to make about me, right? Who should be, since Vin Diesel has done took a one-way trip to YMCA, everybody comment, who should play me in the movie?
Okay. I think we're going to have to call it a wrap because we're already over an hour and a half.
That's great.
You got a couple of comments. Somebody said that they love this guy. So,
well, follow me, Doug. Wake the Fuck Up America on TikTok and www.youtube.com at Mitchell Gaither 3952. And I want to end the show. All this stuff we're fighting about, guys, is not worth it. Not worth it at all. In life, the more you give, the more you get. The more you take, the more will take from you. All this stuff you're fighting about is not worth it. So if you've got a friend, a family member, or anything like that, you've got something against, let me ask yourself, would you rather be right or would you rather be reconciled? Call them. Even if you was 100% right, tell them, hey, I love you and our relationship is more important than anything. I was 100% right. And watch what happens. And remember, love, kindness, and generosity are the only thing you can take with you in eternity, the only thing that will transcend time and space. And if you will listen to the music and Hollywood, they will tell you that. And I thank you guys for watching and me rambling along. But surprisingly enough, even though I get done with my videos or these interviews and I think, man, I've made a fool of myself, and 90% of people call and say, I love how you are. You say it the way it is. Gail, thank you.
Yes, you do. And I thank you for that. And my audience thanks you for that too. We enjoy you talking. So we'll see you again sometime. Okay.
Take care. Bye.
And you take care. Bye, everyone.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers. Stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, fighting our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate, destiny.